All right, once again, just thankful to be here. Thank you guys. If you're anything like me, watching college football one Saturday is okay. Twice gets me really antsy. Right? So it felt like it's been a while since we've taken the field. Our guys came back Sunday, really urgent and ready to get back to the preparation pieces. I thought we had a great kind of run through Sunday night, walk through this morning. We talked last Thursday about the improvements, to our own team the last 3 weeks. I think our guys have really taken that to task. Now we got to get that to action. Excited about family weekend. I think we talk about Wake Forest. The families, being back in town are really, really important. It's the We Are Wake game, supporting mental health awareness. That's really big to our program, big to our university, and supporting our guys in every facet of their lives, I think, is really important. And obviously a big-time opponent coming to town. 4 straight home games to start a unique season. But what an opportunity. I'm really excited about getting our guys back out there and just showing the work we've had against a nationally ranked opponent. Coach Key, obviously has their program rolling in a high capacity. And one of the biggest things I look for when looking at an opponent is their identity. And it screams off of the tape. Go watch their kickoff team. Go watch their field goal block team. Go watch their interior defensive line. It's physicality and toughness. It's all over the film. It's the way they play. I'm probably a believer in the way coach coaches them. You don't touch the field if you don't embody that. So I think from the quarterback on down, it's what you really see out of Georgia Tech. A very unique offense. The King kid obviously is one of the best players in the country, and they know who he is, right? So they play to his strengths consistently. Just watching him over time, he's improved tremendously as a passer. They're taking a lot of deep shots, and then obviously using him in unique ways in the run game, and we're going to have to corral that, and we're going to have to handle this defensive front. For us to be successful, what a challenge for our offensive line. I think I'm excited about those pieces and special teams. We've been in pretty good situations so far this year, finding some of those game changers. So we got to play, harder than them in that phase. So excited this. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for our program, our team, our players, our coaches to show what we've done really over the course of the last 16 days since we've played. And, I think that's big. The one kind of announcement, that I do want to make, Rushan Tung is going to be out for the rest of the year. Disappointed for Rue. Tremendous person, leader. He knows his leadership abilities that we're going to need going forward. Next man up. I thought Braylon played really well in the NC State game. He'll continue to start for us at the free safety position. But you just don't replace a guy like Rue. So, disappointed for him and his family, and excited to get him back on the mend and get him back out there. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions. I think it's a great question because it is, two-sided. Chris obviously has taken the next step in his journey. And, we talk all the time, in this room, in this team room, like you got to go out there and earn it. And Chris has done just that. Not only obviously the big explosive play in special teams, but very consistent catching the ball, very consistent after the catch. A deep ball threat. So I think it's only natural as you go through a very competitive training camp and season that things are going to shift and move. And we've challenged Carlos. Like, we need more out of him. He knows that. He's capable of more. I believe that. I've told him that every time. My belief in him hasn't wavered. But he's got to go back out there and earn it through the course of the games and the preparation pieces to get some confidence back rolling, because Carlos is a great player. I've seen it. And, but I have an obligation to the team to make sure that we're getting the right guys out there. Yeah.
The two of them really spread the field. How do you keep that defensive assignment tight?
Well, and they do it so much where, a million different unbalanced formations. Formationally, they are extremely crafty. I said that last week. So it's sweeping one way with him, and it's the quarterback coming out the back door. They just find a lot of unique and different ways to get these guys the ball. But it starts with their formational wizardry, I would kind of call it, where they got empty formations, motions, just shifts, orbits where guys get the ball. Very crafty the way they do it offensively. So you got to make sure your rules and principles are really tight. and our effort's got to take over. It really does. We can't play. Our mentality isn't just getting 11 guys down there all the time. We're going to have to do unique things with the front, and guys have to get their eyes right. We've talked about it really all the way since last Wednesday when we started our preparation here. But they got really good athletes. I think when you watch Georgia Tech, they're located in Atlanta. They're going to have some really good athletes. So it's really kind of all across the board on offense and defense.
Is there something you can compare their offense to from your time at Washington State that gives you a reference point?
Not really. I think they're more a little bit like our offense here, maybe to the next degree of a fourth-year offense of where we would like to be and how multiple they are formationally. I think I referenced the King kid, being to the Mateer, John, who we coached, and how he just elevates people around him, and he does it by the physicality in which you play that position. I think is really unique. I don't know how many hits they want him to take on a consistent basis, but what a tough kid. He keeps bouncing back up every single time, and for a football team to see that, I think it energizes their team when he gets rolling like that. So a different, unique challenge. But I meant that. He is a much better polished passer than he was 2 years ago. And I think they really have a bunch of schemes that really add to his strengths, and I think he's a really strong spot thrower down the field.
Jake, you mentioned Georgia Tech's identity kind of jumping off the screen. What have these last 16 days done for the identity that you're building here?
Well, I think that's a great question because we focused a lot on that. We said, hey, this is where we are at after 3 games. This is the truth. It's not just the facts, it's the truth. So, what can we do to get better? You see it on the back wall. We want to be a physical football team, right? So, we're going to see where we're at against one of the ACC's top-tier football teams. And I think that's the test that our guys are waiting for. Once again, noon kickoff, ESPN, spotlight on us. That's why you're here at Wake Forest. Right, so that doesn't faze us. What have we been doing the last 16 days to get our football team ready and be mature enough as competitors to say we got to improve, right? There's been a high urgency to improve and get better. We've shown some flashes, but not consistently enough to go out there and compete for 4 quarters yet. It's got to be there on Saturday if we want to take down a really, really good football team. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah.
So, talked to Dylan after the Kansas State game, and he mentioned how guys try to do too much here and there. What's the message from your captains who say, hey, you got to do your
Yeah, we had a great leadership meeting last Friday. It's just the understanding, too, whether it's play 1 or play 150, your job matters. Sometimes, you emphasize fourth quarter, and we do as well. But your job matters just as much in that fourth quarter play, that third down play, that red zone play, that goal line play, that short yardage play as it does on any other play. So just having a faster reset to what's important right now, right? The last play is over. Don't worry about the future. What's required in this now situation to go out there and execute your job. And on Saturday, we have to play fast. We cannot be thinking. We've had 10 days of preparation on this opponent. They're going to do a bunch of things we haven't practiced in 10 days. So our speed of the game and the way we play has to be on that field on Saturday, right? So I think that's our guys' understanding. As I do my job, I got to do it with a high level of urgency, and I got to make sure I understand mistakes are part of the process. But when we hesitate, we are going to lose against this football team because they play fast and aggressive. Right, so that's been the mark of our practices, and I can't wait to get back out there on Tuesday, tomorrow morning, and just really see where we're at.
On the offensive side of the ball, you guys, while things haven't been the most even, I think one thing, does it feel like there's a lot of pressure on Demond to kind of make that big play from time to time, and how do you get him to kind of settle down a little bit, that trust?
Yeah, pressure is a privilege. I think he has gotten to the point in his career where he's earned that. We had a great talk really the other day because it's not just Demond. I think it's a lot of people at the end of their career, sometimes they strain too hard on it. And hey, this one carry matters if I make it to the NFL or I don't. That's not actually the truth. But that's the way sometimes we feel internally, partly from you guys too, which is good, partly from my seat, right? So just taking even him, just live in the moment, right? He's had a tremendous career. He's going to keep going up the record books. But my focus is on I talked about like the play entry and the track and trusting a play when we come back to it when it didn't work the first time. So that's been the message that, you know, he's heard really for the last 10 days. And there's no secret that we need Damon to be successful as a team. And that's him, that's running the ball, that's catching the ball, it's assignment. You know, so I think everyone goes into that, and I never want him to feel like, man, I just have to make something happen now, right? So that's always a challenge because he's an ultimate competitor, and we'll see that again on Saturday.
Talking about the quarterback work for the 16 days that you've had off now, because obviously the offense stalled out tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
Against NC State, what's gone into the quarterback work, not only on the field, but mentally and emotionally with Rob?
Well, I think the first one is simplification. Like, period. Like, what does he do well? We've seen it. You know, and I told you guys last Thursday, when you look at the broad of the first 3 games, when we're on schedule, right, when we're not in third and longs, we're not in 2 minutes, like, Robbie has played well. And he's played really efficiently. I believe that, right? So we've identified the points of what are his strengths. We got to emphasize those strengths. And I think you do that through trimming things down, even in the run game. You know, we got to find unique ways to utilize his skill sets and move in the pocket. That's not a secret. But playing within himself, I think, is important, and not pressing at times. You know, I think that's what we felt a little bit coming off that field at NC State, not just from the quarterback position, but the offense in general. You know, we just kind of pressed a little bit in that second half. And then when things start, you know, maybe not going your way, where's your mindset at? You know, where's that at? I think that's what we need to grow with, not just as a quarterback, but as a team. When we get in those moments, like, those are the times you rely on your training. Right? That's when you talk about the dark and just staying where you need to be in that particular moment and not pressing to try to strain to make a play. Could be defense, could be offense, could be the quarterback, could be in special teams capacity. Just do what's required by you in that moment for the team.
You talked about pressing, going back and watching the film. I remember last week you said you watched the TV.
Yeah.
The game as well to get different views, different angles. How much of that pressing is happening on the offensive line?
Well, I mean, I think in that game particularly, I felt like we did as a team. You know, so I'm not just going to put it on, you know, one position, one offensive line, one moment. You know, I think I've talked a lot. Sports performance is big to me. You know, and I think there is a poison out there of I need to make a play versus I need to do my job. Okay, one is a strain, a stress, and one is just, man, it's just the focus. And when we play a certain way, defense and offense and special teams, and 11 people are doing their job on that play, we got a shot. You know, when people start to strain and try to do something that's outside of their training, every time it goes bad, right? So I think that's where we just got to stay on it. But we've identified some unique ways offensively that we got to be better getting them on the ball in certain ways, right? And taking off some of the RPOs and just doing some good things to get the ball moving downhill. And at the end of the day, we have to eliminate some of the penalties, especially against a team like Georgia Tech.
You guys haven't had any issues starting fast so far this season, but when you have such a large gap in between games, just how do you make sure that there's no wall as this game starts on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been on my mind the last, 16 days. I mean, I know we're not all the way through 16, but the rhythm is important. So we will get back to a bunch of good on good starting tomorrow. You know, we did a little bit of that last week, especially with some of the 2s and 3s. But football is a rhythm game, and we've been sitting in this sour, feeling a little bit since last Thursday or 2 Thursdays ago. So I think our guys, have been really energized to get back out there. They have a high level of, competitive nature to them. So we got to go out and prove who we are, and I think they've been really focused on that really the last few weeks. So we need to go back out there and start fast again and then play a complete 60 minutes.
Coach, Andy Falai has looked great so far this season. His limited opportunities.
By the way, you nailed that name. You nailed that. Yes.
Practiced it only a few times.
Okay, good.
What does the season look like going forward? How do you get him more involved?
Well, I think every good team has surprises. Every good team that I've ever coached and been on, we got Andy actually really late, when you're talking about the second portal piece, and initially, got him to enhance our pass game. Now he's really shown to be a complete player. He's been one of our best blockers at that position, and he's one of those guys. Through 3 games, we identified we got to find different ways to get him the ball, right? So I think that's going to be in our game plan going forward. I think it's really important that he has shown to be one of our playmakers, and I think we got to lean into that as a coaching staff.
Anything else for Coach, guys?
All right, appreciate everybody. Thank you.